The New Jersey Devils finally got a goalie. They were able to trade for Vitek Vanecek. And also, Jersey Joe joins me on today's show to give me his thoughts on the NHL Draft and the recent trade that involved Vanecek and his overall thoughts on how the New Jersey Devils are going to approach this upcoming free agency period. There's a lot to talk about in today's episode. Joe is a recurring guest of the show, and he always has a lot to talk about, so buckle up. By the way, before I send it to my introduction, I just want to say Jersey Joe did correctly predict that the New Jersey Devils would select Simon Nemec with the second overall pick.
You're Locked On Devils, your daily podcast on the New Jersey Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi, this is Bryce Salvador, and you're Locked On Devils with Trey Matthews.
Elliott scores! Oh, Stevens stepped up, nailed it. Brodor's got the puck. What a shot. The Devils win the Stanley Cup.
Alrighty now, what is up, New Jersey? Welcome back to the Locked On Devils podcast here on the Locked On Network. I'm your host, college hockey play-by-play announcer, and also Devils writer for Pucks and Pitchforks, Trey Matthews. My recurring guest, Jersey Joe, is back. We're going to talk everything from the draft, the Vitek Vanecek trade, and all things silly season. Jersey Joe, how you doing?
Holy smokes. Wasn't it great to have a wonderful Slovak going second overall?
But we didn't get
we
Uri
had a nice hot
Slafkovsky.
take.
It was supposed to be Uri Slafkovsky, not Simon Nemec.
You know what? I tell you, the Habs did what most teams usually don't do, is that they pick the winger over the center. And Matthew Barnaby was right.
Yeah, he was. I mean, I saw a mock draft saying that Shane Wright would go number 4, and I'm just like, there is no way that's going to happen. But it happened. He fell to the Seattle Kraken. I don't know if you saw the clip. I retweeted it, actually. And it looked like Shane Wright was giving a death stare over to the Montreal Canadiens saying, oh, you passed me up, it's war now. So whenever he goes back to Montreal, be prepared for a bloodbath because he's going to be looking to get that puck into the back of the net.
Unleash the Kraken when they play the Kraken.
Oof, geez, I'm looking forward to that one. That's something I'll tune into. Hopefully he can prove himself out. And I just want to say, when this episode goes live, it'll be a day after my birthday. Forgot to mention it on yesterday's show because I was so excited about the draft. Turned 23. Got my LeBron jersey on when he wore 23 because
there you go.
It's my 23rd birthday.
Happy birthday to Trey. Happy birthday to Trey. Happy birthday, Trey Matthews. Happy birthday to you. And many more. Let's go, Devils.
Merci, my friend. Merci.
There you are.
So let's talk about the draft because you were actually at the draft party last night for the New Jersey Devils when they had the second overall selection. And I actually want to roll that clip real quick of your live reaction when the New Jersey Devils selected Simon Nemec.
Let me have that. I'm being a flash. Now you're being apple.
Yeah! Simon Nemec! Yes! Yes! My boy! That's my boy!
Simon Nemec, yes, absolutely. And I actually talked to Bruce Driver about it.
Oh, Bruce Driver. What was he like? What did he say?
He was very happy about the pick, and knowing that, the Devils, not only needed one of the best skaters in the draft, they also needed a really good defenseman. And this defenseman, remember I said to you a few podcasts ago that not only analytically, but skills-wise and mentally, this kid is very sharp. He's prepared from the highest level in Slovakia to playing internationally with Uri Slafkovsky and playing against older men in his age group and similar peers as well. So for me, watching those, taking notes, it makes a boatload of sense to select him. From what I was listening to was the Devils were trying to trade back to 3 or 4, but because they couldn't come to fruition with it, it made too good of sense to pick Nemec at number 2.
So the thing about Nemec is that, he's a very athletic defenseman. He's not a scoring defenseman, but he's very athletic. He has great speed, great handles, knows how to pass the puck. And I basically said this, like, a lot of people are saying that, Nemec might have to spend another year or two in Slovakia or in Europe, whatever the case might be. Some people are saying that he's NHL ready now. But my overall thing is, like, there's no rush, because I think the reason why Tom Fitzgerald elected to go with Nemec is because Luke Hughes is about to do his sophomore year at the University of Michigan, and Luke Hughes is a left-handed defenseman. And then the thing about Nemec is that he's a right-handed defenseman. So I think he was looking for another defenseman to pair alongside with Luke Hughes. And one of my colleagues said, if you pair like Nemec on the second line and you got Dougie Hamilton on the first line, that's actually a pretty good combo for the New Jersey Devils to have. Now, the fact of the matter is, I've said this, usually you don't draft the best player available. You draft what your team needs. And I talked about it on my previous episode. I'm not sure if you've already seen it. But
I did.
I basically said this, drafting Cooley and Wright looks great on paper, but the fact of the matter is that we got Jack Hughes, we got Nico Hischier, we got Dawson Mercer, all 3 young guys who are trying to establish themselves, and all 3 are on different pace. So Dawson Mercer just completed his rookie year. Nico Hischier is our captain, and he's obviously starting to come into fruition a little bit more. Jack Hughes is arguably our franchise player. So it didn't really make sense to draft someone like Wright or Cooley, especially since we already have a young center to develop even further, and that's Dawson Mercer. So that's why I think it was either Juraj Slafkovský or maybe somebody else. I didn't think they would actually go with Nemec, but here we are.
So I will say this to the listeners. Trying to compare Slovak to Slovak from the NHL and now in the draft, I have a good comparable for him. It's someone that has won a couple of Stanley Cups. His name is Erik Cernak. He's the tall right-handed defenseman I've always wanted. However, if you look at the pre-draft season, Szymon Nemec has a 27 versus Erik Cernak has like a 4 in his D-1. So basically, he's well ahead of Chernak's bell curve. And then you look at Nemec in his draft season, he is 20 basis points above Erik Cernak with a 35/15. So in Nemec's star probability, he's at 56% versus Chernak's 14%. Doesn't mean, not going to fail or anything or do anything wonderful, but the ceiling is very high, especially the star probability in the draft in the draft season for Nemec is a 95 over Chernak's 50%. So he's probably going to be the best right-handed defenseman Slovakia has ever had.
He's very established, and I believe he's one of the more accomplished defensemen at the age of 18, if we compare him to other players. But overall, why did you say that the New Jersey Devils would draft Simon Nemec? Like, what was your thought process? Like, why not Logan Cooley or Shane Wright? Because we all knew that Nemec was going to go top 5. We just didn't know that he was going to be selected, that high in the top 5.
I looked at skill, like the 200-foot game. He already plays at the pro level. He's already playing ahead of his age group. And when you see guys on defense playing really well in front of guys that are more talented or older than them, that may be bigger or faster or whatever the case may be, or former NHLers are playing back in their native league, to me, it says this guy is more disciplined and they know what it takes already a few years ahead in their birth year. So to me, it means that the way Nemec is a guy that can not only be fast, attacking, supportive, the only downside is he may not shoot as many goals as people want, but he can most certainly quarterback. And maybe he will get more shots off more in the NHL level where He is a power play guy, and I think his bottom would be Brian Rafalski. So
see, here's a player I want him to play like, and I said this in the previous episode, which is play like Ryan Graves, which is you're effective on the rink. You know how to work, especially on special teams. You are effective, silent but deadly. Like Ryan Graves is not someone who's going to be a bona fide goal getter, but at the same time, he knows how to pass the puck. He knows how to play effectively. So if I had to compare him to a current New Jersey Devil, it would be Nemish. Or I'm sorry, if I had to compare Nemish to a current Devils player, it would be Ryan Graves, just because when we talk about Ryan Graves, we don't really talk about his scoring, but we know how effective he can be on the rink in the right circumstance. So I think that's what I want him to play like. I would have said Jonas Siegenthaler, but I just feel as though, Nemish just has more potential to do more damage on the offensive side of things. Like I said, he's not a goal getter, but, I think he could develop into maybe a decent two-way player, because here's the fact of the matter. When you pair Nemish with Hughes, Luke Hughes is going to do the scoring, because Luke Hughes is a scoring defenseman. But on the defensive side of things, you want Nemish. So I guess that's how the tandem is going to work. Luke Hughes will be the scorer, and Simon Nemish will be the defensive anchor for that respective line, if they're paired alongside each other.
So he actually plays, he meaning Shimon, plays a 200-foot game. So basically Luke can be like our new generation. I don't want to put it too much of a high ceiling. Like if, he is to be projected, this generation's version of Scott Niedermayer, if that were to come out to full fruition. Worst being worst, Luke, to me, would just be like Quinn. So really, I see a lot of
Makes
good.
sense. That's his brother, so it makes sense that he would play like his brother.
And he thinks a little bit like Jack offensively. So, but anyways, Shimon would be the guy that can pinch in the right area, be very mobile defensively, and pinch at the right times. So if I am Tom Fitzgerald, I'm giving Shimon Nemeth an ELC, but he's going to join Utica first.
Yes.
Because I want him to
saying.
get accustomed to North American ice.
Yeah, that's what people have been saying, and that's personally what I would want to. So if he's not going to play in Europe for another year or two, there's no need to put him on an NHL roster right now. I don't think he's NHL ready, but maybe he's North American hockey ready. So put him with a very successful team, a team that's, great at developing young guys. And here's something else that I want to talk about. Shakir Mukhamadullin, is there a chance that, he could be sort of like Big Z? Because I said the floor for Shakir Mukhamadullin would be someone like Jonas Siegenthaler, because that's another Devil I compare him to. But Shakir Mukhamadullin, a lot of people said since he put on weight this past season, maybe he could be like Chara, just a little bit, like another Big Z type of player. Because the fact of the matter is we don't really talk a lot about our defensive prospects. We don't talk about Riley Walsh that often. We don't talk about Chara. Nikita Ohotuk and Kevin Ball get their, lime in the spotlight now and again, but not too often compared to like Alexander Holtz and other forwards. But I just feel as though, getting Nemish just a little bit more can kind of get people talking about our defensive side of things, because we talk a lot about our young forwards, but what about our young defensemen too?
So when people freaked the F out about Mukhamadullin a few drafts ago, I was like, okay, I can see why people are freaking. However, things are done differently in the Russian system. So long story short, Pro League is the KHL. The AHL is the VHL. There's no ECHL. Then you have the bottom tier, which is the MHL. MHL is where the major juniors is. So all your under 20 guys are all getting dressed up and, prepared for war to play hockey. So a lot of the guys I fell in love with over in that system, Mukhamadullin succeeded with Toplar, and that's part of Salavat Yulayev in Ufa in Russia. So anyways, Mukhamadullin, when I watched him the past couple World Juniors back then, his booming shot, his long range, with his stick and being able to have a big bomb of a shot, to me screamed, this guy could be our Chara. And worst comes to worst, defensively, he could be Siegenthaler, no problem, or Ken Danico.
Nothing wrong with that. Ken Danico is a legend for the New Jersey Devils. So,
Grizzly man,
play tough, play physical, because that's what the New Jersey Devils need. They just need some physicality. And, I was stunned when Nemec was selected second overall. I was genuinely stunned, but I think I was just mostly disappointed that we weren't going to get Juraj Slafkovský. But
yeah,
I think a lot of people were too, because I was hoping Bob Mackenzie would be wrong, but he's never wrong when it comes to the first overall selection. He's been right since like over 10 years now. So the man knows like who's going to go first overall. So, but ultimately it's just this, like, I think that people should be, very excited for the future for New Jersey Devils, because
and be donning this jersey right here.
You got your jersey. There we go. Now it's staying up. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll understand what the problem was. But
yeah, it's the green screen part of Zoom. So
I need to
for
get
those people.
For
those people actually have the this is the New Jersey Devils /Tilly t-shirt that I got with my redemption. So it's a best of both cultures.
So I gotta ask you this. So I talked about my reaction to the New Jersey Devils selecting Nemec, but what was the overall reaction at the draft party? Because I thought I heard a lot of groans and a lot of wait, what kind of thing. Because it seemed like you were the only person cheering.
For me, like, I heard mixed emotions, but I think in the end, when I started talking to people, I remind them that we got one of the best skaters in the draft, but we also got the best defenseman in this draft. And I reminded them that this guy is going to be playing with Luke Hughes for a wicked long time. And they're going to have someone like, when someone says, when are we going to trade away Damon Severson? When are we going to move him? For me, or replacing Subban in a year or two, you have the benefit of the doubt, where you have a really good insurance policy, where Nemec can be like our version of Eric Cernak, but with more speed and more smarts and more hockey IQ. And people not a lot of people follow the draft like we do, but people listening to the podcast because they know what we're talking about. And we oversee a lot of this, and a lot of people actually follow your podcast and Neil's podcast that I spoke to at the draft party. So a lot of people actually understand who we're talking about now. So it's not foreign anymore. It's not Mandarin. It's not Hungarian. It's plain English.
Awesome. So, I just want some clarity. So for Jersey Joe, in terms of Simon Nemec, is saying the Slovakian version. I'm saying the English version. So how would you say the Slovakian version again?
Szymon Nemec.
The English version is Simon Nemec. Or that's
pretty much.
I think that's what they're going to say on like the broadcast or the PA system, whatever the case might be. They usually say the English version, unless Nemec requests otherwise. But ultimately, I'm excited to see what can happen from Nemec and his overall development. And, a lot of people, including my colleagues, were trolling me. They were clowning on me, saying the Devils are stupid, yada, yada, yada. But I just said, with Cooley and with Wright, yes, they look great on paper, but in terms of development, we can't just put them out of position. We can't put them at a winger position for a long-term solution, because we already got so many centers to develop and work with. So that's what I want people to know about this overall ordeal. Don't worry, there's still more in store with Jersey Joe, but before we continue, I want to bring you guys the first and only live read this morning, and comes for our friends at BetOnline. So betonline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs. Congratulations to the Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche. I'm sorry what might happen to Darcy Kemper and MLB season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sport wagering information, including live betting, esports and scores, and BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Please remember to gamble responsibly and visit our friends at Locked On Bets for all your betting needs there as well. Okay, let's get back to our discussion with Jersey Joe. Take it away once again. Now, let's switch gears. Let's go from the draft and let's talk about a recent trade that happened because the New Jersey Devils were able to obtain Vitek Vanecek. Now, you predicted it that the Devils could get him. I also did a silly season discussion because I think I said, should the Devils get Kemper, Holtby, or Vanecek? And I said the more realistic choice would have to be Vanecek, but my desired choice would be Kemper. And the person I would stay away from out of those three would be Holtby. So ultimately, it's just another silly season prediction that I got right. I said, if we want to get Vitek Vanecek, I think that's the more realistic solution if we're being honest with ourselves. So, but here's the problem with Vitek Vanecek. He's still relatively young. He doesn't provide that veteran leadership that I was hoping for. He's not really going to be a mentor towards Mackenzie Blackwood. He does have playoff experience, but it hasn't been all that good. And another thing is he's going from a good team to a subpar team at best. So will his numbers remain the same as they were for the Capitals? Probably not, but I need your unbiased opinion. What's your thoughts on Vitek Vanecek?
I really like what he has done the past couple of years with the Washington Capitals. Excuse me, just a roll of tea.
Jersey Joe is actually British. Everyone needs a sip of tea.
A little bit of English. That's why my middle name is Clark. Anyways, long story short, I really like what Vanecek brings, and his mechanics are very good. I just think that the defense in front of him with the Capitals was good, but it wasn't good enough to get them through in the playoffs. And given the coaching that they have in the Capitals, I don't think the coach there pressed enough of their buttons for the defensemen to get a little grittier. And plus, you got a lot of aging veterans. The Devils are quite the opposite, where we have a young netminder in Vitek Vanecek, a Czech goaltender, mind you. He has posted at least 19 wins a season. He got basically 19, 10, and 2 in Hershey when he was getting revved up before 2021. And he posted 21 wins, and he got another 20 wins in the regular season just this past season. He plays a minimum of 37 to 42 games. However, he's going to have to deal with playing a little extra now because he could be playing 62 games, maybe 65. Because
what are your thoughts on Mackenzie Blackwood? Do you think he's out the door? Do you think Mackenzie Blackwood would be moved to 1B? Because I say this, Mackenzie Blackwood is still our starting goalie. I haven't lost faith in him. However, time is running out, but we do need to give him some help. That's my overall thing. Because we haven't been doing that to Mackenzie Blackwood, and unfortunately, his career is on the same trajectory as Corey Schneider, which is he's being overworked, he's injury prone, and his numbers are getting worse by the year. So we need to help him out while we still can. But Mackenzie Blackwood seems to be getting more and more frustrated with the organization. Do you think Mackenzie Blackwood stays, or do you think is he pretty much one foot out the door? Because Neil brought this to my attention, saying that he swapped agents during the middle of the season, which is never a good sign.
Yep. So I will say this, and Neil is right, and I have the same hunch too. And I saw someone put out there the other day, yesterday, technically on draft day, on day one, that Edmonton is interested in Mackenzie Blackwood. I'm not sure if that's completely true, but if it is, it sounds like they're trying to supplement the problem for Mike Smith. So I think the Devils will entertain a trade. And I believe if they're going to offer sheet someone for a goaltender, Jake Ottinger.
Okay, so speaking of the Edmonton Oilers, we got some breaking news from Frank Sarabelli. Duncan Keith has reached a decision to retire, leaving Edmonton with lots of cap flexibility now.
There you go. It's just, sands of time eventually run out. So the Jeopardy theme song is done.
But, if we get rid of Mackenzie Blackwood, then we're still in the same position that we once were, because we don't need one goalie. We need two serviceable goalies. That's our situation, because it's one of the things I talked about in my silly season episode that involved the William Nylander trade. Yes, in that hypothetical trade package sent to me by my colleagues, yes, we get Jack Campbell. That's a bit of an upgrade over Mackenzie Blackwood. But at the same time, we still don't have a backup. So if we deal away Mackenzie Blackwood, we still just have Vitek Vanecek and Nico Dawes or Akira Schmid or his backups, we're still in the same position that we were in last year. Quite honestly, probably in an even worse one if Vitek Vanecek can't translate what he did to the Washington Capitals to the New Jersey Devils. So my thing for Tom Fitzgerald is that you cannot just half-ass this. You need to actually find a serviceable backup goalie. We still don't have any word on Jonathan Bernier and his situation. I'm hoping Bernier returns, because if Bernier returns, he'll be third string. He'll be less wear on his body. Won't ask much of him, but I will take a washed up Jonathan Bernier over Akira Schmid and Nico Dawes, just because, look, even at Bernier's worst, it's still better than Nico Dawes and Akira Schmid for right now.
Yeah, like I said before, Nico Dawes, even on a crappy team, can still win 10 to 15 games. And he's probably going to improve his game this offseason. And with the Devils, very likely, I think they're in the hunt still for Burnett to be an assistant coach, to be eventually a head coach. If Ruff really screws up, it's going to be something that the Devils have a good backup plan. And I think they will make a good decision in getting a signed backup. Do they really want to go sign Wedgwood again for a backup?
Well, Wedgwood signed an extension, right, with the Stars?
Not that I remember, but if he did, then he's off the board.
Yeah, he signed a 2-year extension with the Stars, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, if that's the case, then he's off the board. But I'm just saying, then it's back to the drawing board. Then the Devils going to have to make a trade. I mean, they're not going to throw darts at the dartboard. They're going to be looking at their list. And Kate Madigan's going to be help working the phones for Tom Fitzgerald. So I know they're really pushing. So the Devils lucked out against Billy Husso. So he was traded earlier.
Yeah, because the Red Wings obtained his rights. They obtained his rights. He's not officially a Detroit Red Wing. They just obtained his rights, so which means they could talk to him first before free agency begins.
Yeah, and if it doesn't come down, then the Devils can get him. So you would have
same situation with the Jonathan Bernier. What was it? The Carolina Hurricanes, because Bernier was originally traded to Carolina Hurricanes. They couldn't get a deal done. Becomes a free agent, signs with the Devils. So I think that could also be a situation.
Yeah, and speaking of goaltending, we haven't talked about Tyler Brennan yet, and Brennan is the number one North American goaltender, just a segue, and he is a draft +1 guy, so he played on a very poor Prince George Cougars. So Tyler Brennan is from Manitoba. So he watched a lot of Connor Hellebuck over the years, and he also liked a lot of Mike Smith in his earlier days. So with him being a WHL guy, you're dealing with a lot of physical defensemen. So you're used to big bodies in front of you, maybe not as much scoring because, like I said, physical defensemen usually come out of the W. So it's a good thing to have. He's a 6'4", 190-pound goaltender. He's 18 years old, from Winnipeg, Manitoba. Who else came from Winnipeg, Manitoba for the Devils? Travis Zajac. So His comparable for me is Nico Dawes.
See, here's the thing about Nico Dawes or Akira Schmid. They played really well with Utica, but we rushed them, and we had no choice but to rush them. And, Nico Dawes, I think he did everything he could potentially do to try to save face for the Devils. But the fact of the matter is we overworked them. So I don't want Nico Dawes or Akira Schmid back with the Devils organization to start this year. Not because I don't like them, but it's just because they're not ready. I just want them to develop in the proper way, because Utica, despite getting knocked out early in the AHL playoffs, they had a very good regular season. And I talked with the Utica comments writer about that. And ultimately, that's what I want people to focus on. Nico Dawes and Akira Schmid, they're not bad goalies. We just rushed them because we had no choice but to rush them.
Right. And Schmid wasn't even close to ready. Dawes is was a year behind, but he started gaining some development at the NHL, learning what it takes. But like you said, he needs to marinate a little bit longer.
If Nico Dawes became our third string goalie, I think I'd be okay with that, because we would only use him in a real emergency. Like if, Vanecek and Blackwood have gone the extra mile, both need a rest, or one of them is hurt. If Nico Dawes became third string goalie, I'd be okay with that, because I think he's earned the right to be at least considered for third string if Jonathan Bernier doesn't return.
Right. And it's good to have that policy. But back to Tyler Brennan, given the fact that Prince George has not been a good team, you look at his past 2 seasons when he was, technically 3 seasons, back to 2019, 2020, he played in 15 games with a 3.34 goals allowed average, with 4-6-1 win-loss total. And then he went to play for Canada White U17 team. He was 2-2, around the same numbers, but he had a shutout. So he dealt with a lot of adversity. But then in the 2021 season, played in 40 games, 2.16 goals allowed average, netting a .933 saves percentage, and a shutout, went 2-0-2. So he had 2 wins and 2 ties or whatever. So then you look at 21-22, he played in 39 games with a 3.58 goals allowed average and a .899 saves percentage, but he had 11 wins despite 25 losses and 2 ties. And then playoffs, he was in 4 games, 1.86 goals allowed average with a .954 saves percentage. And despite all that, the team in front of him just didn't score enough, where he ended up 0-3-0. So there's potential, but he can still play another year or 2 in the W. So I think he might want to get transferred to another team in the W if his team decides to move him.
Okay, so Tyler Brennan, everyone keep an eye out for that potential name. I also interviewed a goalie who could fall under the radar, Chase Coward from the WHL. Most likely won't get picked, most likely won't get drafted, but still, anything could happen in these many rounds of the NHL draft. Now, to wrap things up, Joe, for the final segment, I want to talk about your thoughts on the pending free agency for New Jersey Devils, because struck out with Kevin Fiala, struck out with Alex DeBrincat, and Alex DeBrincat was picked up by the Ottawa Senators on a very, very cheap return, because they gave up just a few draft picks. One of those was a first-round draft pick. And I personally thought my offer to one of my colleagues at Locked On Blackhawks, I thought it was a better deal, because, I said, first-round draft pick next year, unprotected, second-round draft pick in this year's draft. I'll give you a prospect not named Holtz, Mercer, or Hughes, and just pick any prospect you want. And as collateral, just so you get a player right away, I'll throw in Pavel Zacha. But that's all I'm going to give you. And Pavel Zacha is a throw-in for any deal. And I want to talk about the pending free agency for New Jersey Devils once again, because Alex DeBrincat is off the table. Kevin Fiala is off the table. Now it seems like it's Johnny Gaudreau or bust.
Yeah, I honestly think that it comes down between the Devils and Philly. And I know that they brought in D'Angelo and they're trying to wiggle room cap space. I mean, let me look at this with Philly. I mean, I don't want to tick off, the Locked On Flyers podcast, but I'm going to just take a little gander at what they got. So they have over $39 million tied up in forwards. And then they have over $19 million tied up with their defense right now. And then over 4.9 million with their goalies, and Fedotov is having problems back in Russia with the military. So I really think that the Flyers are going to have to make a lot of moves just to get you Gaudreau, or they're going to have to make moves after they try. But I really think the Devils have the upper hand, given the fact that, next week or very soon to be will be free agent frenzy. I think in the end, the Devils might end up with him. I could be wrong, but I would love to see him red and black, because he should be like, I know Vanecek, I play against him. Be closer to home, but not exactly Southwest Jersey. So, but do you want to be part of a GM like Chuck Fletcher? I don't think he knows how to use asset management properly. But Tom Fitzgerald, on the other hand, does. And we're seeing that along with Kate Madigan rolling it. So I really believe the Devils have the upper end with the more higher quality contracts on the books. So I really see the Devils having that special leg up where we have a bunch of young stars becoming veterans, and veterans that are stabilizers. So who knows what happens, but I would be very, very thrilled to have Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah, Johnny Gaudreau, his worst is still better than everyone's best on the Devils roster for the time being. And I just want people to know, I think Johnny Gaudreau's on the way. I think Johnny Hockey's on the way, but he really does have to be on the way, because this seems like it's Johnny Gaudreau or bust at this point.
But let me throw this out there. NRD from the Cold Stove podcast, NHL Rumors Daily, said last year he had smoke signals pointing towards New Jersey Devils signing Dougie Hamilton. And he said similar language about Johnny Gaudreau to New Jersey. And I know he has very good sources, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's right again. So it's a little hard to bet against NRD.
We'll see what happens. But if Johnny Gaudreau signs with the New Jersey Devils, I'll be happy. Already got Vitek Vanecek. Hopefully Mackenzie Blackwood in the front office works something out, because I haven't lost faith in Mackenzie Blackwood. Hopefully Blackwood sees that the New Jersey Devils are really trying to give him some stability, because Vanecek, solid goalie, has playoff experience, only a couple years in the league. That's one of my concerns. So he can't act as a mentor, and he doesn't give the New Jersey Devils that veteran leadership. But at the same time, I respect his numbers, and I said I would be totally happy if we got Vanecek. And I said in my silly season episode, I said it was the more realistic option for a New Jersey Devils. So, Jersey Joe, before we go, any final thoughts that you want to share?
So because the Devils picked Daniil Orlov, he's on one of my mock drafts that I had on Draft Pro Sim. He plays a little bit more versatile in all the facets of the defensive game, from power play, penalty kills, to even strength. He's got a similar shot to Shakir Muhammadulin, except he was picked a little bit later, around, I think, second or third round, if I remember. Or fourth round. I remember Seamus Casey, still around top 40, top 60s projected. And Casey's going to Michigan? And who else is coming from college hockey very soon from a right-hand defenseman? Ethan Edwards. So the Devils have a pipeline. It's rotating. And before you know it, it's going to leak over into Utica. And the Devils will be like, we need to move a few guys to make room for another few. And maybe there are some other trades coming about. And who knows if Dave Pagnotta is right with the Devils and the Blues trying to get a trade done.
Vladimir Tarasenko, that's also an option. He proved everyone wrong that he's still very effective despite coming off of injury. So, Vladimir Tarasenko is someone I'd also be happy with, could definitely help on the top six. So, Jersey Joe, you always have great insight. You always have great opinions, and I'm glad that you enjoyed yourself, and congratulations. Simon Nemec is coming to the New Jersey Devils. You predicted it. Seems like you were one of the few people happy, and you educate people why people should be excited for Nemec. And overall, people aren't crazy when they make bold predictions.
You know what? I try not to be crazy. I just try to, be as wise, analytical. I may not be like my father, who's a financial advisor, but I try and make the right recommendations when it comes to players and prospects. And for me, it's always an honor to give not only the Devils community, but the hockey community as well, my perspective, if they want me to be bluntly honest, even if I wear the red and black. So it's just me being straight up honest, like a fiduciary person. So.
Awesome. Jersey Joe, thanks for joining me, my man. Always a pleasure. Enjoyed the draft. Still got to post some draft news for New Jersey Devils. Vitek Vanecek, Simon Nemec, coming to town, everybody.
Yes, and happy birthday, number 23.
2-3.